very warm welcome to this mobile spine program, which is going to be specifically targeting your upper back. Usually, the upper back is quite stiff when we try and go into our back bends. But what we have to remember is that actually, this important part of your anatomy also has a relationship to your breathing. And so, that if this section is stiff and it's not as mobile as it could be, it has knock on effects on lots of other systems because your breathing impacts how well your mind works, how calm you are, but also your digestion and your gut. So, this is such a special program because we are targeting the upper back. It is going to give you some great gains in your goals, like your back bends. But what you might find in the process is that other amazing things happen. Now, the very first class that we're going to look at is something called sensory stimulation. Your brain loves lighting up the sensory component of movement and skin joints. So let's actually just begin by noticing how well we can move in our upper back. So find a dot that you can come onto as something to stand on. Bring your hands into a Charlie's Angel gun and then do a couple of rotations with your spine and let this be sort of a warm up. So your upper back particularly loves going into rotation because of the orientation of the little joints in the spine. And so we're just basically warming up the movement that it loves to do the most, which is rotation. We're going to do a couple more. See if you can get to your maximum range of motion. And then let's do one slow one where you hold the twist and you notice where your twist lines up to. And then we'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Roughly, what is that in line with? Good. Now, once you've got your baseline, we're going to begin the sensory stimulation. And I'm going to be a little bit careful because I've got this mic, but I want you to really go to town. We're actually going to sensory stimulate all of the breathing muscles around the body. So, of course, you've got your transverse abdominis, that's your big belly muscle. It helps with breathing. And then you've got some obliques, which is like little side body muscles that are just a part of that strong breath whenever you've been running, doing some cardio. Got your intercostals, which are the muscles that are between all of the ribs. Wherever you can reach, you're just giving them a little bit of sensory stimulation. You also got your pectorals. Now, this is where I have to be a bit careful because of the mic, but across the chest. And then you even have some that come up into your neck. They're called scalenes. And they kind of lift the rib cage up towards the neck. So you can imagine this kind of motion when you've been running and you've got to get lots of breath in you. All right, so after we've done a little bit of that sensory stimulation, we then come back onto the exact same spot that we were standing on before. We put our Charlie's Angel gun back to the test and we see, can our twist go a little bit further? And if it doesn't, let's say it stays the same, did it feel a little bit easier getting there? Was there any difference whatsoever? Nice. And for me, there was a tiny shift there. It wasn't dramatic, but definitely an improvement. So that is one strategy, right? Stimulating the breathing muscles around this section of the body. A little bit more, that kind of makes sense, right? Because it's in this area, but a little bit more unusual is stimulating what we call joint-rich areas, such as the hands, the feet, and the thoracic spine. So let's begin by rubbing the hands together as if you're washing away all the lurgies. And you're really getting in touch with the space between the fingers, the palm, back of the hand, and even around the wrist. And it's so weird, right? Because how do hands relate to your upper back? But it does actually work for many people. Coming back onto your spot now, let's reestablish our Charlie's Angel pointer and let's see, has our twist increased in range of motion at all? And again, even if you haven't, have you at least gained the ability to move with a little bit more control into your end range? Yes, so again, for me, it stayed sort of the same, but it felt really good to go into that new range. It felt a little bit easier. Let's now journey to another joint-rich area, which is the feet. So you're going to come down onto your butt, and you are going to start rubbing the toes, each separate toe, getting some attention. the sole of the foot, the balls of the feet, tops, and the ankles. And again, you might be thinking, what feet for an upper back program? What the hell? But when we look at brain scans, we realize that hands, feet, and any joint rich area occupies a really big space in your brain. So when we light it up through the sensory component, which is like what we're doing now, it does actually help the overall mechanic of the brain, the way how effectively it works to improve, which can give us better gains with our mobility. So after you've given your feet some love, we're going to hop back up to our special circle, our special dot that we are using. And we're going to see, oh, wow, I definitely got a bit further with the foot stimulation. So my body really likes that. Let's try one more time. Nice. Okay, amazing. So hopefully you're feeling like, okay, it's a little bit unusual, but actually there's something going on there. Of course, we also have sensory stimulation of another joint rich area, which makes a bit more sense logically because the upper back is another joint rich area. And I'm going to be using a foam roller to do this. If you don't have a foam roller, that's totally fine. We get a lot of really good benefit by doing light skin stimulation. You can also position yourself along a wall and use that. But if you have got a foam roller, you're going to hop onto the floor with me, place it in the lower portion of your thoracic spine, and then you're just going to roll all the way along the length of the spine. This shouldn't be painful. This shouldn't be uncomfortable. It should just feel like you're releasing and breathing as you stimulate the skin and these joints. Nice. Now, it would be nice to jump up and do a little retest now, see if this was good for our nervous systems. But instead of wasting time, I'm going to get you to come straight back down with your butt, a little bit of an angle as if you're going to do a sit up. And then we're going to arch on one level of the spine. Hold it there. Do like a little crunch on that one level of your back. And come up. Good. Now slide your bum closer to the heels so the roller has moved further up your back. And reach over it. Do a little bit of mobilization there. Good. And then move your butt a little bit closer again towards the bottom of your mat. If your head feels heavy, you can always give it a bit of support as well. Good. And we are going to do one more of these, sliding the roller a little bit closer to your neck. And then we're arching, creating a bit of sensory stimulation on that joints, especially those ones that are higher up. They need that attention, right? Because they never get any. Let's come back up to our spot now and let's see, did we improve? Oh, wow. For me, that was a definite winner. I hope for you it was the same. Nice. So once we've done that, we are also going to come onto our back one last time. This is one of my absolute favorite things in the world to do. And you're going to bring your right knee into your chest. You're going to fold it across into a twist, and you're going to extend your right arm out in the opposite direction. Now your left hand is going to get to work by mobilizing the joints that kind of come up quite high on the rib cage, and they're in conjunction with the shoulder. So what I mean is they're kind of in that same line, and you're just gently going to push each rib. So your hand goes onto one rib and then pushes it towards the floor, and then you come back, and then you take your hand a little bit higher up onto another rib, and you push it towards the shoulder and the floor, and then you release it. And then we go a little bit higher near the collarbone. Give it a big old push. Excellent. Now take the hand onto the actual shoulder, and again, pushing down, create a bigger twist, and release. Excellent. Let's spin it over now to the other side. Big twist. Take your hand onto one of the ribs, give it a push, and release. Take your hand a little bit higher onto the higher rib, push, push, push. And then last one, hand right underneath the collarbone, push into that rib. Think of creating a bigger, deeper twist. And then you're going to bring your hand onto the shoulder and push the shoulder down towards the ground whilst your knee reaches in the opposite direction. Brilliant. And release. Okay, so coming all the way back now into neutral. Hug your knees in. We're going to sensory stimulate one of my favorite ways, which is through rock and rolling. So we're going to rock and roll through the spine. And guys, this doesn't work for everyone, hey? So if you find like, oh, I'm not really into this because my bony spine on the hard floor is a bit sore, you can skip it. And then we're all going to rock up together into our feet to do one final retest of our sensory class to help our upper back. Let's see how are your gains with your upper back mobility. So for me, what I can feel is that I haven't gone a lot further, but getting into the end range was a much easier. In the beginning, I was like, oh, really having to fight to kind of come to that line. But now those end sections, I can kind of pop in and out of them a lot easier. So I want to do one last thing with you. Sorry, just come into my head and I think this will be nice. Open your feet a bit wider and then just let your spine bounce into end range. Nice. And what you can also do is actually keep the head facing forward so the body has to twist underneath the neck. This is extremely good for your thoracic spine. And then let's work on keeping the pelvis as solid as possible, the head facing forward, so the rotation is coming just from your upper back. Amazing. Well done. Thank you for being here on the start of this journey. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. In the meantime, let me know down below, how did it work? Did you get any extra gains?